Hi, friends. How's it going? Happy days of spring are here. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so I don't know about you, but April is just one of those months with like new beginnings, new starts. And I know that so many people, regardless if you're Christian, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, like the fact that we've had like all of these holidays in the past like 2 days between Ramadan, Passover, Easter, there has been a lot of new growth. And this is like the time of new growth. So I wanted to do a really special live for you all today. I wanted to do something that's going to help you to give birth to your own idea worth spreading. So I'm so glad to see you all jumping into the live stream today, sending you all a couple of waves. Make sure that you share these lives, or that you like, take a note for your neighbor, because I know that there's going to be a lot of gems that I'm going to be sharing with you all today. And this is basically the framework. If you guys are into frameworks and numbers and like systems in terms of exactly how we like assist people to like land TEDx talks, this session is going to be for you. So I want to make sure that you grab a pen, grab a paper, and make sure if you have any questions, I'm going to like wait till the end to answer any questions that we have about today's framework. So if you have questions, make sure that you put those in the little chat. If you're on Instagram, there's like a little like question mark. And if you're on other broadcasts, you can check out the little comment section. But make sure that you're like either like sending me like, the gems that you're picking up, or just like writing down some stuff to pass on to a friend, because today's live is going to be just packed with information. But actually, it's a really simple framework. And this is the framework that I've worked on over the past couple of years. So I'm really thrilled to be able to share it with you, because I believe in you. I believe in the power of your voice and the power of your story to really change and make a huge difference. Okay. So this is how we're going to start this off. Ladies and gentlemen. Okay. First thing I need you to know, the first thing that I need you to know and to understand is the framework that we're going to be working with is an acronym. And the acronym has everything to do with the lighter that is in my hand. Okay. I want you to think of the word ignite. Okay. Ignite. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can actually can I make this a little bit bigger? Hold on one second, y'all. Okay, there we go. All right, I hope that is in focus. Ignite, Ignite. All right, so this is the framework that we're going to be working with on today's session. Just a heads up, if you are on Instagram, you might want to check us out on the Ideas That Ignite Facebook group. That's where I'll be holding all these different trainings on exactly what you can do to sharpen your storytelling skills, what you can do to get on the stages of TEDx. Still, there are lots of opportunities in 2023. So if you want to check out the slides for this particular session, check out the Ideas That Ignite Facebook group. Okay, ideas that what ignite. Ideas That Ignite Facebook group. Okay. And if you're on Instagram, just feel free to just jot down these notes on paper and let me know if there's anything that you will need me to repeat. Okay. So the very first thing, the first letter in Ignite, is what, ladies and gentlemen? It's an I. It's an I. Okay. So what we want to do when we're thinking about the I in the Ignite framework is I want you to think about what issue or concern can I most see myself representing or talking about. Okay. So the I in Ignite is going to stand for how can we figure out your idea we're spreading and to put it into one sentence. One sentence. Okay. There's a lot of power. In actually being able to articulate your idea in one sentence. And that's what we need to like lean into, because every single application that you look for, or anytime that anybody's asking you, how are you going to impact my audience? They're going to ask you, how are you articulating your message? And the faster and the best way to do this is to really focus on sharing your idea in one sentence. One sentence, y'all. Okay. Now this is key. Actually, before I even continue, can I just get like a little heart or a thumbs up if you can hear me okay? I did a live last week and there was like no sound. There was absolutely like no sound. So that I had to record the entire session all over again. So can I just get like a heart or a thumbs up if you guys can hear me okay? So I can make sure that I'm not just like talking to myself here. Okay, awesome. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Awesome. I heart you guys too for letting me know. It's so silly. Technology like is lovely until you can't until it doesn't work, right? Okay, cool. So we're working with the Ignite framework, and these are the exact tools that you're going to need in order to really get clear on what your idea is and how to show that you are the best person to be on the stages of TED or TEDx or whatever big event that you're trying to get into. Okay, so I want you to first think about the power of the one word description. Okay, I mean, I'm sorry, the one sentence description. I'm just like messing myself up here thinking about the audio. Okay, one sentence. Now this is going to take some practice, some work, but the questions I want you to ask yourself if you're thinking about how do I get this down to one sentence is A, what is the concern or the issue that needs to be resolved? What crisis needs to be addressed? And think about it if you have like an opposing point of view. If somebody else has an opposite point of view to your idea, that actually might be a really good thing because we want to make sure that the things that you're presenting might not seem like they're status quo. They're not like everyday things that we think about or that we know about, but it might be a slight iteration from the way that we think about things, right? So, for example, I recently saw this TED talk which was all about how we don't actually know what our future selves want. Okay. That was the one word, the one sentence description. We don't actually know what our future selves want. Right. So the sentence that you're coming up with, we want it to have like some type of intrigue. And many people might say, like, actually, my future self wants X, Y, and Z, so I need to prepare now by doing WZQ, right? And so this one TED talk had like this flip of this idea that is presented in one sentence. So I want you to think about what could you do that is going to articulate your idea in one sentence. Okay. Lovely to see you all here. So glad that you're able to join. This is our proprietary signature system in terms of how we get people on the stages of TED and TEDx. Okay. So the idea in one sentence. Okay. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is the G. The G in Ignite, right? The G is all about the guts. The guts. Now, this is really the core of my own expertise. The guts of your talk is the story. It's the story connected to your talk. Okay. So every single great presentation, talk, TED talk is going to have that aspect of vulnerability. Okay. That aspect where we're getting an emotional sense of what you, as a person who's presenting this, has gone through. What journey do you want people to take? What journey do you want to take people on from the beginning of understanding about the environment, or the beginning of understanding about AI, or the beginning of understanding around why their voice matters, right? Where are they starting? What complicates this matter? Like what makes it tricky for them to try and to get past this issue? And then where can they resolve? Like what journey are you taking people on? Okay. Now, a lot of times, one of the best things that you can do while you're thinking about like what story can I share is to think about those moments that have truly impacted your life, your personal life, your professional life, your career. Okay. These are the things that are going to like stand out for you in terms of your own guts, in terms of your own story. Okay. And the way that a lot of people like work their way into these talks is one of two ways. Either people have like this crazy, emotional, radical, dreaming, comedic, whatever story. There's some type of emotion connected to your story, right? And from that story, we want to be able to put on a different lens. We want to be able to distill the meaning from it. And as humans, the meaning that we put on to different ideas is constantly changing. It's constantly changing. If you want another framework in terms of like how you can actually like reframe these emotional things that happen to us as humans, I encourage you to go back to one of my other lives from like last week. I shared a live on reframing the things that you know. I had my sunglasses on in that one, so you'll see me like looking all crazy with like these sunglasses. But if you're looking for ways to reframe your stories, a lot of people get into into their idea or figure out what their idea is by first figuring out what stories are most resonating with me. What stories do I most want to resonate, like, like in terms of like what I want to share with the world, and what stories are most connected to the values of other people. Okay, so it's another live that I did a couple days ago. Just check it out. You'll see me with some silly sunglasses on. Okay, so but basically, this particular framework includes that. We need to look at like what is the story that's most going to take our listeners on a journey. Um, and so if you have gone through something, if you're able to actually say, I was the one who learned this lesson. Now I want to pass it on to you. It's going to be a lot better of a sell if it's something that's coming from you personally, as opposed to like a case study or a statistic about something that you read, or a research paper. Okay, we want the story to be connected directly to you. So one of the things I always tell people to do is to find a core story. A core story is like one that, regardless if you were presenting this live and doing in 30 seconds, or regardless if you were doing a TED talk for 18 minutes, that story would have to be included for your idea to make sense. Okay, that story would have to be included. That's going to be the core, your core story. And I want you to hang on to those gems, right? Hang on to those gems, because the more that we're able to figure out what those stories are, and the more that we're able to like figure out like the different meanings of those stories, then we'll be able to like kind of like make a through line. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what a through line in just a moment. But a through line is basically going to connect your stories, your data, and your takeaway in all like one presentation. Okay, so the G in our framework specifically stands for what are the guts that you're bringing onto the stage. What is your story? Okay, y'all feeling me so far? So far so good? Yeah, can I get a wave or a thumbs up, or a, if you feeling me, if you're feeling this so far? Yes. Okay, great. So we got the I, the importance of being able to articulate your idea in a sentence. Thank you for that. The G, the guts, in terms of like how are you actually presenting your story? What story is most standing out to you in terms of a story that absolutely would have to be shared for your idea to make sense? Okay, got it. Thank you for that. Awesome. And make sure you're like, if you help your neighbors out, jot down a little something in the comments if you see some people jumping into the live, they might need to catch up to where we're at. And if you have any questions, make sure that you post them in the comments, and I'll be setting some time aside at the very end of this to ask you about your ideas, your stories, your takeaways from this particular live. Okay, great. So the N in Ignite in our framework, okay, the N is going to be like, what is new and noteworthy? What is new and noteworthy within the aspect of your talk? So one of the things that's really interesting about TED and TEDx is a lot of times they want a talk that has not been presented before. Okay, now this could be a little bit tricky because maybe you have presented something on a stage before and you feel like it actually is, it's the iteration or the beginning of something. That I would say is perfectly fine. But what they don't want is you to have gone on a tour with this particular idea. They want ideas that are like new and fresh and kind of innovative, right? And so when you think about your topic, I want you to remember that you are the expert. You are the expert in this particular domain. So I want you to think about what can you, or what do people in your field or in your industry, how are they bringing this issue up? Like, what are they saying? How are they articulating their interest or their passion for this topic? Okay. So a lot of times people get kind of, they freak out because they think that in order to do a TED talk, it has to be some revolutionary, brand new idea that nobody else has ever talked about. And that's just, it's not true. It's absolutely not true. One of the things that makes TED Talks really great are sometimes these ideas are brand new. Sometimes these ideas are just a slight iteration. It's like a slight degree temperature change from like 60 degrees to 61 degrees. Okay. So for example, I saw a TED talk the other day that was it was something about how women don't need a seat at the table. They need to create their own table. Okay. So you probably have heard that expression that, like women deserve a seat at the table. And this TED talk was all about just like creating our own table, right? It's a very slight iteration, but even that slight iteration can get people thinking slightly different about how we address this topic of having access to, you know, equal access for women in the boardroom, right? So when you're thinking about something that's new and noteworthy, I want you to think about things that are maybe common knowledge or maybe people do understand or know about, and then put like a little bit of a tweak on it. Just a slight iteration, a slight change that might actually be the message, the new and noteworthiness that we're looking for in actually delivering uh, a standout talk. Okay, think about that one thing that can make it new and noteworthy. The other thing that can really help you think about like why something might be new and noteworthy is to think about why is this an urgent issue for people to resolve now. Okay, I want you all to write that down. Why is the issue or the topic that you're talking about or that you're presenting, what makes it an issue now? Okay. Now, if you're able to figure out like why this is important, like of course, like during COVID, for example, things were changing like at a rapid pace. What we understood about like health, what we understood about pandemics, what we understood about education and how children learn, what we were learning about just like the global transport, everything, everything was starting to change like quickly in 2020. And so if you can think about like what in your area of expertise is urgent or why people should be paying attention to this now, that's going to give you a couple of clues as to like how we can make this issue new, noteworthy, and innovative. Innovative in terms of the industries that you're representing. Y'all feel me? Y'all feeling this fire? You're feeling the fire today? You know? Yes? Thank you. Thank you. Send me some fire, some emojis if you're feeling what we're putting down today. Okay? So far we have the idea, being able to articulate the idea in one sentence is going to be your first task. Okay? The second task with the G, the second task with your G is going to be what are the guts? What are the guts or the core story? Sorry about that. What is the guts or the core story that you are presenting as part of your message, right? Regardless if this bad boy is 30 seconds, regardless if this bad boy is like an hour long, what is that one story that you would have to share as part of this message? Okay. And it has to be a personal story, not a case study, and not a statistic. Okay. Cool. The third thing that we're looking at within this framework is new and noteworthy. How is this issue new or noteworthy? Now, when you think about this, I want you to lean into the things that would make this an issue that is urgent. Urgency is going to drive why your talk should be picked up now, as opposed to later. And of course, if it's already been talked about, then chances are it might just be passed on, right? But when you're looking at this N within the framework, what makes this issue timely? Why do we need to pay attention to it now? Okay. What risk does your audience take if they don't act on this particular issue now? Okay. What is the cost of not understanding what COVID can do to the body in the long term? What are the risks if women are not allowed a seat in boardrooms, right? What is the risk if we don't take climate change seriously? Okay. These are whatever your industry is. I want you to think about what is the risk of inaction, because that's really going to help drive the urgency of your message. Why your audience needs to take action now. Okay. You feeling me? You feeling me? Let's get some urgency up in this bad boy. That's what's going to make it new and noteworthy. Okay. You feeling me? You feel me? Oops. You feel me? Yeah. All right. All right. Thank you for the fire, the flames. Okay, cool. Now, the next thing that I want you to think about when you're putting together, like, the ultimate application is the next I within our framework. And the next I within our framework specifically stands for insights. Insights. Okay. Now, insights is all about like, what is the data? What is the data that I'm actually able to pull from? Be it some research, be it scientific data, be it just like facts, you know. So majority of the talks that you'll see out there, if they are related to science or technology or even things that are just happening in the world, a lot of times these are connected to specific stats and data. Okay, now we don't want it to be too heavy with the stats and the data, but a few key things to think about is getting reputable sources, because keep in mind every single talk is going to be fact checked. And if they find out that you're using some false information, some AI bot to come up with your talk, it's woo, it's gonna be problems. Okay. AI as a whole, if anybody understands Chat GPT and how this stuff works, hit our sister up because I'm still confused. I'm still confused. Let me get a little sip of water here. Okay. So yeah, so what I want you to do is to think about what insights or data can you show, and maybe it's your own data. Maybe it's something that from your lived experience. Now, the interesting thing about this particular I in our framework is sometimes you may not necessarily have data. Give me a thumbs up if you have just a story. If you feel like the thing that you're like leaning into is just a story that doesn't necessarily have data or stats connected to it. You know, is anybody in that position where you might not necessarily have any like data? Like for my own talk, for example, I was talking about how I wanted people to rethink about those who have special needs in terms of their gifts, right? Now, there's no stats or data per se. Although when I did apply, I did mention that the stats, the number of twins where only one has special needs is about one in every million live births. Okay, so I included this stat as part of my own application to TED, in terms of like this is the thing that makes me unique uniquely qualified to actually deliver this talk is myself and my twin brother are one in a million, like literally one in a million. Okay, so thank you for jotting that down. You know, if you do not have any stats or data, the I for you then stands for intrigue. Intrigue. What is the thing that makes your story compelling or different, or just kind of like something that is that shows exactly what it is that can stir somebody's passion, somebody's life, right? Thank you, thank you, thank you for posting that for everybody who is joining. You can see in the chat that we're starting to break down what the Ignite framework that we use for our clients to land on the stages of TED and TEDx. Okay, so the I, once again, just to reiterate, the I is making sure that you can articulate your idea in one sentence. Okay, articulate your idea in one sentence. The G is going to stand for those core stories, the core story that you need to share, regardless of the length of your talk. 15 seconds, 15 hours. This story has to be included. Okay, the N is for new and noteworthy. What makes this issue like top of mind for people now? Why do people need to see this talk now? What action do they need to take now? Or else something else might happen that is not going to be beneficial for them. Okay. So new and noteworthy things are things that are urgent, things that we need to pay attention to for whatever reason. Okay. And we're on the next I right now, which is the insights and the data. Now, a lot of talks might not necessarily have that hardcore data. If it doesn't have hardcore data that is reputable and backed up by science, then use that I for intrigue and to talk about your story that brings the listener in to what it is you stand for and what the journey that you're taking them on. Okay? All right. All right. Let's keep this bad boy going. The next letter, we have two more letters to go through. The T. The T in your talk, my friends, is all about the takeaway. It's all about the takeaway. Okay. So I want you to imagine that you are asked to speak on a stage, and as you're being uh, asked to present something, the organizer asks you, "What's in this for my audience?" What would you say? What's in it for them? As a result of them bringing you onto their stage, what do you want this global audience of listeners to do as a result of this talk? Or what do you want this global listeners of audience people, what do you want them to believe? What shift do they need to make in their own lifestyle or in their own thought patterns that's going to benefit them? Okay. So when a curator asks you, your idea in a sentence, that brings up the intrigue, right? So for example, in my own case, people often think about those who have special needs only in terms of their needs. What if we started to think about them in terms of their gifts, right? That's the idea. Sorry, my flies are kind of like flying around here. Springtime. Um, but the takeaway is something that is very specific to the listener. Okay, so in my case, I wanted people to think differently about those who had special needs in terms of their gifts, but also wanted people to think about what it meant to redefine what it meant to win. So you'll see the title of my talk, officially published on the TED website, is redefining what it means to win. And now this takeaway was drawn because my talk includes, I'm talking a little bit about the Special Olympics. I'm talking about being a bad sport. I'm talking about this connection between, like, those who have special needs, their gifts, and redefining what it meant for you as a listener to feel like you have won. Okay. So the takeaway is going to be different than the idea, but they're kind of all connected. And that's where we start to see the through line. The through line is a key part of any core application. Is you'll see these bits and pieces all kind of coming together into one idea worth spreading that only you can put together. Okay. And that only you can articulate. Okay. So once again, when it comes down to the T, it's all about what is the takeaway for your audience. And this is going to be a key. This is another key part in any application. Because any curator who's hiring you, any curator who says, I want you to come onto to my stage, it's because of what you can do for their audience. It's not about you. It's not about your ego. It's not about you, fulfilling a dream. It's about their audience. Okay. Now, hopefully, if these all align, we're doing both at the same time. We're fulfilling a dream for you, and we're also articulating a message for an audience that's really going to change their lives. Okay. So, what is the takeaway? What is the call to action? How can you shift somebody's thoughts or beliefs around a certain issue? And what can be gained or lost by this inaction? What can be gained or lost if people decide to, like, lean into the thing that you want them to take action around? Okay, so that's our takeaway. That's our the key part of any application. And last but definitely not least, is the E in our framework, right? IGNITE, exclamation point. The E, my friends, is going to be all about your expertise. It's going to be about your expertise. Now, one of the things, if you kind of go back to the origins of TED and TEDx, they started off really being people who were like world class in whatever, in brain surgery, in storytelling, in leadership, right? There were like these big names: Simon Sinek, Brene Brown. There were these criminal justice, like there were just these big names. These people were experts in something. They were experts in their field, and then they were asked to do a talk that kind of brought it back down to something that their audience could take action on. Okay. And the one of the key reasons that they want you to be an expert is they want to know that you are uniquely qualified because you spent time, right? Actually, I want you to put in the chat, like, how have you shown your expertise? How have you shown that you have really digged deep into your field? So go ahead and put that in the chat. A couple of answers might be that you've studied you have a master's degree in biology and public policy, or perhaps you have like a lot of time, like many, many years working in the field, many, many years like working in the field as a practitioner, right? Maybe you have a certificate that shows that you have spent some time developing the skills needed. And now that you talk about it, you want to go out onto the stage and actually kind of talk about your results, right? Or maybe you've created something, a business, a nonprofit, you've started a club, you've done something that can actually show that you are the expert. I would love to know. Just go ahead and put that in the chat if you can. What are the things that that show that you are an expert? Show that you are an expert. In my own particular story, in my own particular case, the thing that showed that I was an expert was I had been leaning into storytelling and story coaching for a long time. At the time that I applied, it was 2013. So it was a couple of years into my storytelling journey. But the thing that also made me an expert was the fact that I had a lived experience, right? A lived experience that not many other people had gone through, being a one in a million twin. Okay. So sometimes your expertise might be something that you've lived through, right? Maybe it's something that you got some type of intellectual property, right? But long story short, what I want you to think about for expertise is, what have you done that actually shows that you are the person who has spent time, you have spent time talking about this issue with others in the field. Great. So I see one of these answers here, that you created a nonprofit to support and empower girls around the world. Fabulous. Fabulous. Now think about how many other people in the world have done that. I mean, I'm sure that there are others that have done that, but the fact that you have spent some time, your love, your energy to actually empower these girls is so significant. It's so significant that I want you to to understand that sometimes when we're in our own frame, the frame of our excellence, the frame of our zone of genius, that we don't even necessarily see the impact that we've had on other lives. Or maybe you have had seen the impact because you need to like document it for donors or whatever that might be, right? But then when it comes to actually translating that, I want you to think about, what is a lesson that you've been able to distill from being an educator or from working with this population that perhaps could apply to a large to the world. It can be applied to the world, right? The beautiful thing about these talks is we start local, we start with the things that are very specific to us, and then we find the nuances that become universal through lines for a much broader audience. So for example, one of our clients, she was in former military, had a traumatic brain injury. Um, and so after a car accident, she couldn't remember anything. She didn't remember being a cadet. She didn't remember. She don't remember what happened. She was in a coma for quite some time. Collapsed lungs, like all these things that were happening to her. And as she was going through the process of recovery, she realized that there was just a lot of things in therapy that was not working for her. She couldn't recall. She couldn't remember anything at all. People had to show her pictures of her former life for her to even believe that she was a beauty pageant person and that she had gone to these amazing schools. And so what she did was she started a nonprofit to help other traumatic brain injured people understand that photography, the actual like learning how to use a camera, not only was a great hobby, but it was also something that helped her remember her everyday lived experiences. Okay. And so when she came to me, she was like, look, Dawn, like, I don't remember anything unless I take a picture of it. I will not remember this conversation. Won't even remember the fact that I've been on a TEDx stage unless there is a picture that triggers my brain that says, oh, that's right. That I do remember this memory because I have this one still frame from that particular day. Right. And so when we were working together, it was all about how she could translate this into a larger audience, right? Because not everybody is going to have a traumatic brain injury. Not everybody is going to have served in the military. But when it comes down to our idea, everybody can learn about what it means if we do take what photography does in terms of our brain, in terms of our memory, and in terms of us feeling connected to a larger global community. Okay. But sometimes when we're in our own zone of genius, we don't even know the amazing power that we are having on the world. And that's where coaching, and really trying to like articulate your idea with many people comes in handy. That's where your expertise is going to be key because it shows that you've done the work, but it also is something that shows that that this is the person or one of the persons in the world who is definitely qualified to share this particular message with the world. Okay, that was a great example. That was a wonderful example. Anybody else who wants to share an example of your expertise, and how it might relate to your idea? Like, what makes you the expert in your area or your domain of expertise? I'm like checking out the chat here. Let's see if we can. Let's see. So Mel, Laura, Hosanna. Oh, what is up? Hello, hello. Sometimes I just see people pop in and I don't have a chance to actually say hello to you. So thank you for being here, y'all. Thanks for being here live. Jackie, Mel, Laura, Hosanna. We got a bunch of people over here on LinkedIn as well. This Shauna, Jackie. Oh, thank you so much for being here live. I'd love to know, is there anything else that you have done that shows that you are an expert, that you are an expert in your field, and that you need to be on these stages? Okay, I'd love to know. Okay, cool. Oh, look at more friends are jumping into the chat. Happy Monday for sure. Happy Monday. Listen, y'all, I I just have to give a quick shout out to just the fact that we're the the first day after Easter, right? I know some of you all might be celebrating and honoring Ramadan. I know a lot of my Jewish friends and Jewish colleagues out there, you know, Passover. It's just a beautiful time to 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 step into this process. So I'm really glad to see that this is the rebirth, the birth of your stories. It's a beautiful thing, and your stories need to be shared. Okay, your stories need to be shared. If you don't share them, who will? Okay. Um. Oh, okay. You're driving. Drive safe. Don't text me while you're driving. If you, I mean, and I'm hoping that you're like pulled off to the side. But yes, yes, beautiful. Okay, so that's the breakdown of the framework. Now, every single one of these pieces is going to be necessary when you're starting to put together like why you should be the one invited to these talks. Okay, so just to do a recap of our framework here, the I, go back. If you are on IG and you'd like to check out the slides from today's presentation, you can join us at the Ideas That Ignite Facebook group. Okay, Ideas That Ignite Facebook group. So we're breaking down the framework, and I want you to keep this framework in mind. The reason why we make it an acronym, we want to make it really, really, really simple for you to remember it. So Ignite, the program that I run is called Ideas That Ignite. Ignite is the framework that we're looking at. The I, making sure that you can articulate your idea in one sentence. The G, what is the guts? What is the heart of your story? Okay, what is the story that regardless if it's 15 seconds or 15 hours, it will be shared? Okay, the story that only you can share, first person, not third person. Okay, the N, what makes us new and noteworthy? If any of you have ever gone to like Apple Podcasts and you've seen on the top of the screen, new and noteworthy, right? Sometimes those things are new and noteworthy because they're coming out from a celebrity or some fancy name. But sometimes those things are getting a lot of traction. So think about like what are the topics that people are starting to click around a lot when it relates to your industry, be it DEI, be it understanding the importance of cultural competency, be it the environment, whatever that is for you. Like what. what do people need to know about that? Okay. Um, I lost my framework by IG new and noteworthy. That's where we were at. The next I is for the insights. What kind of insights or data might you need to add that is backed by science, backed by reputable sources, right? That can actually like add a little bit more creed to your application. Okay. The next T is a big one. The next T is a big one. It's the takeaway. Keep in mind, every single time you get onto a stage, somebody is, in the case of TED and TEDx, you're not going to be paid. Okay. But for many speaking engagements, it's all about like, what is this going to do for my audience? You have to think about the fact that somebody's paying you $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 to come onto their stages, which is all very feasible for you, by the way. Very, very feasible for you, by the way, which is a whole nother story I'll get into about how I started making like tens of thousands of dollars in speaking engagements. Actually, if that's a topic that you guys want to hear more about, just send a DM or put it in the chat. Show me how to make money in public speaking. Okay, and I'll definitely do a live around that as well. But you have to think about the fact that if a curator is bringing in like you as a speaker, and they're paying you, they want to make sure that their audience is transformed in some way, shape, or form. Right? It's the reason why we even like go to things like TED or TEDx if we're like dealing with something. If we're dealing with divorce, understanding how to deal with death, right? A lot of people go to Google, or they'll go to TED, or they'll go to a place where they feel like they can get a video that will break down for them how to think about this particular issue. Okay, so y'all want the topic about how to get paid? Woo! Child, let me tell you. I'll give you a quick summation of that in just a moment. But I'm just gonna finish up this framework and then jump to any questions. So that was the last the next I. The T. Oh, I'm sorry. That was the takeaway. The takeaway. I am messing up the slides for those of you who are watching with the slides. And the last E is going to be your expertise, like showing that you didn't just read a book on the topic. You didn't just, have a conversation on the topic that you're addressing. You have done some work. You've started that nonprofit. Okay. You've started that club. You've actually been like writing about this in research papers. You've been doing live streams, breaking this down for other people. Okay. And all of this stuff needs to be public. It needs to be public, y'all, so that when the curators are looking, they can actually fact check. Okay. So that is the framework. Once we have all of these pieces, these are going to be just like plug and play into the applications that we're putting on. Regardless, like as I mentioned, if you're applying to South by Southwest, if you're applying to Ignite, if you're applying to TED or TEDx, these are all the things that you're going to need to have nailed. And this is how we work with people. We work with people specifically on this Ignite framework so that we know exactly what we need to, we know exactly what we need to put in order for this to just like to ignite, to just like boom, to just like stand out, right? That is what we need to do. Thank you, LinkedIn user. I don't see your name for your comment, but I'll go ahead and put it up here. Thank you for going back to the idea issue framework. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you all need a recap of this, or if you're catching this on the replay, then you should be in a good place. But let me know if there's anything that you'd like for me to go back through. I'm going to check the Q&A to see if there's any other questions. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of how I realized that I was undercharging for being a public speaker. Yo, let me tell you, it was I was living in New York, and I had an engagement at NYU at the School of Business. And so I was like, yo, bet. I'm like moving up in the world. I was like, your girl's doing the damn thing, right? Paid me a couple $100, which was my going rate at the time. And at the same time, I was also hosting a show. I was hosting a show called Barbershop Stories. which for anybody who's ever been to barbershop stores, give me a love, give me a thumbs up if you missed the show. I know I do. Um, but I was hosting a show called Barbershop Stories, and I was telling the audience how I had just come from like doing this speaking engagement at NYU, how I was amped, and my topic at the time was all about storytelling and leadership. And so, because there's a direct connection between somebody able to articulate their story and providing a vision for the future of like what they want to see happen. Um, and so I was telling the audience about this. And after the show, after Barbershop Stories, somebody comes up to me and they're like, "Oh, can you do that for our client, which was the University of Maryland?" This dude was an agent. Okay, didn't really matter to me at the time, but it is a key part of the story, and you'll see why in just a second. So he was like, "Yeah, if you can do this presentation for my client, that'd be amazing." I'm like, "Sure, bet." So he goes back, he gets a contract, he sends it over to me. Y'all, y'all, guess how much one 45-minute presentation, one 45-minute presentation, guess how much they were paying me for one 45-minute presentation. And if you're a public speaker, you probably already know the answer to this. But just take a guess. Take a guess of how much this one presentation was. Hello, friends. Hello. We're doing a little guessing game right now in terms of how much you think. I went from being paid $200 on average to what? What? For 45-minute presentation, 15-minute. Okay, I see some guesses here on Facebook. Too low. Too low. Yo, my speeches went from about 200 to $300 to a minimum of 5,000. A minimum of 5,000. I mean, I was mind blown. I was mind blown. I was like, "You're gonna pay me $5,000 to speak for 45 minutes?" And that, my friends, was just the beginning. That was just the beginning because after that, it just started like becoming more and more and more, because I started to see that there's a lot more to articulating your message. Like the framework that I presented you today is just a matter of like getting that framework, you know. But the fact of the matter is, you can apply this framework to get paid paid speaking gigs, like like good money. And the funny thing is, like once I was able to figure out this whole system, the business of speaking, once I figured out the business of speaking, I was easily making like another 60K per year from having one speaking engagement per month and then doing other coaching engagements and other things like that. Okay. So once you really use this framework, I thank you for that fire. Yes, taking that. Yes, thank you. And if you're feeling what I'm putting down, go ahead and put those comments in the chat. Help a neighbor out. Help them out. Because once you know this framework, then the next step is just understanding what is the business of public speaking. Like, because you might be asked to speak, but have you ever had that frustrating feeling of being asked to speak and they don't want to pay you? Chances are the person who's hiring you is not the right person that has the money. Okay. So there's a couple of different things, and I'll break this all down in another live stream coming up soon. Okay. But if that's something that you want me to do a live stream on, or if there's any other topic that I can be in support and service for you all, I've been loving doing these live streams and interacting with you all in this way. So make sure you just hit me up, send me a DM. If you're interested specifically in the TED and TEDx stuff that I'm doing, I definitely encourage you to join me in the ideas that ignite, ideas that ignite face mastermind, and you can find that at ignite ignite.donjfraser.com. We are kicking off, our spring cohort actually tomorrow. So for those of you who are catching this today, April 10th, you have like one more day to get in applications. But we break down this entire framework over the course of 3 months. 3 months. And my guarantee to you all is, look, 3 months is typically not going to be enough time to actually draft the talk, submit it, and get accepted. So what we do is, you are with us until you do land that TED or TEDx talk. You're with me. You're in the program. So we are constantly reworking and reworking your idea until it is accepted. In my case, it took 2 years. I do not want it to be 2 years for you. That's why I've created this framework to accelerate and to expedite this process. Okay. So we're in this together. If you're interested in this group, we have a very finite number of people who are on this journey together. But if you are interested, if you're serious about the TED and TEDx stuff, if you want coaching, if you want a perspective from a global group of people who can actually help to bounce ideas off of, definitely go to that link. Go to that link, ignite.donjfraser.com. Okay. Fill out an application. Somebody from myself or my team will jump on a call with you and be more than happy to see if you're a good fit for this particular program. Okay. So yeah, applications are due tomorrow. But if you missed the deadline or if you're catching this in the replay, go ahead. There will be a wait list that will be active within a couple of days. So you can put your name on the wait list if this is something that you would like coaching around, if you'd like for my team and I to like really handhold you as we're like developing your idea together to get you on those stages, to get you those 5K gigs. We got you covered. We got you covered. All right. All right, y'all. Awesome, awesome, awesome seeing you all. Let me know if there's any other questions. I'm going to check out. And in case you're curious, we are also live on the Ideas That Ignite Facebook group. So if you want to like a hub of like where all these trainings take place, or if you want to be able to pose more questions or recommendations for things that you wanted me to talk about, join the Ideas That Ignite Facebook group. And if you are interested in just more coaching, and if you're ready to like step into 2023 and to land your TEDx talk, definitely apply today. Apply today, because we're looking at stuff that's happening between like June to the end of the year. Oh, I should also mention, if you have not received your list of over 1,000 TEDx events that are happening, send me a DM that just says TEDx list, and I got you covered. Okay, over 1,000 events that are looking for speakers. We're back, y'all. The pandemic is still surging, but live events are back. And now is a great time because a lot of people are putting together these events and they're looking for ideas. They're looking for experts. They're looking for you, y'all. They're looking for y'all. So, okay, cool. So I hope that framework worked for you all. I hope to see you all some more on these live streams. You know, keep in touch. Let me know what topics you want me to do. I'm going to try and do at least one of these weekly, curated for you all. Okay, curated for you all. So, woo, wow, we've almost been going on for an hour. We've been going on for almost an hour, y'all. Woo! All right. I think that were all of the questions. Just double checking our crew over on LinkedIn. You guys are all good on LinkedIn? You guys are all good? Awesome. Awesome. You guys are good on Instagram? Yes? All right. This has been awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for hanging in there, Vernice, Hosanna. Much love to you all. Hopefully we'll be able to connect either in the real world or in another virtual live stream soon. All right. Happy Easter, happy Passover, happy Ramadan, wherever your religious affiliation might be. I'm sending love to you all. Here's to new beginnings. And here's to what? Your idea that ignites. Peace. Ayoka, we're like just signing off. We're just signing off, my love. We've been here for almost an hour, but you'll be able to catch the replay. We broke down the framework, the Ignite framework, for you. I, the idea, get it in a sentence. G, the guts of the story. Your heart. Your heart. What are the guts? N, new, noteworthy. What makes it new? An iteration, a slight degree change from what we have. T. Oops, did I miss a letter? I need to look at my letter. IGNI-T. Oh yeah, the takeaway, of course. The takeaway for the audience. And of course, the E, your expertise. you'll be able to catch the replay. All right, y'all. I'm sending you lots of love. I'll catch you soon. Happy new beginnings. Much love.